All right, folks. On the eve of the 21st season of WNBA basketball, we welcome you folks back inside of the WNBA 365 network, your comprehensive home for the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball world. Beginning our 2017 training camp coverage this evening with the new and reduced panel this evening, joined tonight by Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart, both up in Los Angeles, and Cameron Hurt joining you folks here from the Calamac Sports Studios in San Diego. Guys, good to see you again. My goodness, it's been a long time, of course. Work and a lot of other things going on, at least for me, the past couple months of that, though. How's it going tonight?
It's going well.
Yeah, it's going good so far. Great to finally be back. It's been a while.
It's been a while, folks, but predominantly because the busy beaver over here, more so with me again, juggling hockey and college sports, and also juggling indoor soccer season and a lot of other things going on. Plus the renovation of the house has well been a big problem. So again, thanks for you folks for remaining patient with us during this time. We've been kind of glad though to kind of keep our social media going for you folks, to keep you posted with games and news going on, and we'll do our best again to do that once more here for the 2017 season. Of course, as well as usual, folks, social media wide open, facebook.com/WNBA365 or on Twitter at WNBA at ShortyMamba24 or at Pup1010, hashtag WNBA365. And of course, folks, we still are battling some of our technical problems. So again, we will work our way through those tonight for the next about hour or so while we are here this evening with somewhat of a new format, or where it's been recently, of course, with questions and answers more, but more getting a better in-depth analysis, I guess, or deeper conversation than just what we've seen or what we have normally done here. I guess, guys, the first thing I want to bring up, at least from my perspective here, of course, with the season starting, was the news that came out a couple days ago that the WNBA has made a milestone announcement, guys, of announcing that 20 games over the next 3 seasons will be live streamed in their full entirety on Twitter, much like what we saw with the NFL doing Thursday Night Football this past season. Now, of course, that is with Amazon. I guess, Shorty and Crystal, to begin our discussion here, again, this is, I guess another way, I guess, that the WNBA has broken barriers, of course, with it 21 years ago, the longest running professional women's league. Shorty, to get us underway, what do you make about this announcement, again, that 20 games over the next couple seasons will be live stream for viewers on Twitter starting as early as this year?
Well, since we're, switching up the format, I'm actually going to and ask her, what she thinks about this topic.
Crystal, what do you think about this? Again, WNBA launching 20 games starting this upcoming May 13th. In the next couple of years, they will be live streaming their entirety on your thing.
Can y'all hear me? I'm having some small technical issues.
We can hear you. You're good.
Okay. I think it's actually a pretty good move by the WNBA to utilize social media and utilize something of that stature. I mean, it's a pretty big step in growing their market and their game. And we've always talked about how the WNBA should do something to try to grow and market their league a little bit more. But I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons with this. I mean, it is a cool thing that people who don't live in WNBA cities or probably don't want to pay for the league pass, they can, just hopefully watch these games on streams. But it's also kind of, a bad thing because there's also going to be people that don't watch still either way. I mean, just because it's in your face doesn't really mean you have to look at it. But for the most part, I mean, I think that's a right move in the right direction for them.
Shorty, what do you make about this? Again, this is a good stepping stone. Again, you get 20 games next season, and I believe also 2019 is also going to be in this mix. And like Crystal said, though, I agree, though, is whenever you put something out there on the web, you're subject, to criticism, either constructively or the negative effects that we've always seen and what we usually do see, guys, with WNBA stories. But I think with this, at least before we get to Shorty, is this is a good stepping stone to somewhat begin like a new age of how we will watch sporting events for the next couple of years. I mean, I know that we've had a lot going on with ESPN lately, and we will maybe touch base on that later on. But I think here that with how so many people now are starting to stream more events, either playoff games in hockey or playoff games in their phone anywhere, guys, and turn it into a TV TV set or turn it into a radio for everybody is amazing. And I think that this is a good step forward for the WNBA beginning this brand new, I guess. What do you think?
Just overall, we talk about exposure, wanting to have more exposure for the league. So initially, I think it's a great idea. And I know a lot of people talk about, trolls might be commenting under the, mentions, during the games. But, who cares? There's always going to be trolls no matter where the WNBA is. So regardless of that, I think it's a great idea. Like I said, more exposure. Now, one of the brought up is, with 20 games being streamed. So a lot of people are wondering, will this lessen the impact on WNBA Live Access, as a whole, showing, all the games, in the season and things like that. But again, I don't think it'll make a major impact as far as live access, and again, just more exposure for the league. So this is a great stepping stone for the WNBA.
Couple comments, guys. Todd Mintz writes in, and he agrees with all of our points. He says it's one of the best marketing things that Lisa has overseen. Taking over the picture is good quality. The NFL was very good, and also glad that everyone is back. He also says people have complained that the occasional ESPN and NBA TV coverage is not enough. Anything for more national exposure will help. And I guess, Crystal, to kind of keep this going now, again, folks, once more, again, WNBA to begin live streaming 20 games right in the palm of your hand on your Twitter app, starting as early as a couple of weeks once we get underway on May 13th of the season. But again, Crystal, I mean, the announcement again is, I kind of go back to where the NFL was last year. Again, they had done some test runs really on Thursday night football games where people were out and about to watch the game on Twitter. Crystal, I guess to somewhat still talk about this, but do you think though this will probably help in regard to exposing these athletes and what this game is all about that that we have come to love for the past as long as we have?
You kind of froze over again. I really didn't hear the question very well.
Do you think that this really is going to help expose the WNBA to a broader audience in your mind?
I mean, I think it will expose people to watching it, probably if it's up there. But, I mean, I don't think it can hurt. But at the same time, like I said earlier, I mean, there's going to people who don't watch probably aren't going to watch it either way. But, I mean, I think it's good that they're getting their names out there. I mean, to get a little bit more eyeballs, especially doing the social media platform, because social media is big right now.
And Shorty, I think as well, to piggyback off Crystal is, I think, and as I've already said plenty of times about how social media has played such a big factor in either network here or what have you in regards to how it is. But Shorty, I think, do you believe that maybe that 20 games is about the right maybe number for the first 3 years of the existence of this upcoming Twitter stream? What do you think? Is 20 games the right number in your mind?
I think it is. I think it's a number that exceeded, my expectations. I thought it probably would have been lesser games, but just the first 20 games, that's like already 75% of the season. So definitely a great number.
All right, guys, we'll move gears real quick to the updated ESPN television schedule. Now, again, guys, I know there was a major uproar during the time we were gone, but of course, you were keeping folks in the loop again. There were only originally 9 games scheduled for ESPN's family and networks, beginning, of course, with the LA Sparks home opener on the 13th against the Seattle Storm. But, guys, that number has now grown to more than 9 games, mercifully. Shorty, Crystal, we'll let you kind of pick on this, and then you can, chew it up and spit it out back in our faces. But what do you believe, though, but I guess in regards to the initial report, again, only 9 games coming off of a historically amazing season, Crystal. The question being for me, KT, was it important, though, for ESPN to backtrack and reconfigure their schedule for national TV games on ESPN for the season?
Are you speaking as far as how well the season was last year or in general?
Just how there was 9 games earlier, then it got bumped up to more games just a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I mean, I guess they realize the ratings are going up and more people are watching, and I guess they realize that um, the season did so well last year, and it was actually very exciting. So it might as well just keep it going and kind of bank off of what they did last year. Because I mean, I did realize there was a lot more games added when we, when the original plan came out. We realized there wasn't that many games, but I think ESPN is starting to find out that people really do like women's basketball, and that more people are starting to watch.
Shorty, what do you think about this? Again, I know that we had 9 games originally scheduled for the season, but again, the ESPN kind of backtracked and reconfigured themselves, and they gave us more than 9 games. Of course, they wanted to do MVP matchups or what have you, and I know a lot of people are still disappointed in the fact that LA, Minnesota did not get to play a Game 6, which would have been opening night for the Sparks this season, and also just a lot of other things that they were frustrated with. But Shorty, what do you believe about configuring their broadcast schedule for the summer season?
Yeah, I'm glad that they ultimately updated, the list of national TV games, because 9 wasn't enough, and I think everyone was up in arms about that. But I think a lot of it had to do the mass changes that happen in free agency. You see Alina Deladon taking a big leap from Chicago to Washington. So, a lot of free agency moves as well. Indiana, and just a host of other moves. Odyssey Sims in LA, Christy Tolliver, yes, one of the great scorers in the league and shooters, heading back home to Washington. So I think a lot of the roster moves in free agency, allow these changes to be made.
Again, guys, I think in regards to that, I think back more to the frustration factor, I think, of all of us in some capacity, and that ESPN would go from before free agency hit, when they made the announcement of all the games coming out on ESPN this season, that they really, of course, before the moves were made, but I don't think ESPN knew what they were getting themselves into by coming off of arguably one of the greatest seasons in the league's brief 20-year history, again, of so much great stuff this season between LA and Minnesota, and that rivalry kind of sparking up, no pun intended, or the Mercury getting DT back this season and what have you, as well this season. And also, real quick, Todd had a question. He said, how many over 9? I want to say at least 14. And also, guys, it should also remind me as well that Indy and San Antonio did not qualify for ESPN games this season in regards to the TV schedule. With that, guys, I'll move to some bullet point or talking points, I guess, in regards to all 12 teams, courtesy of Michelle Smith's Inside the W article just posted earlier on in the day. Shorty, Michelle starts off with the LA Sparks. Of course, they will be the hunted this year with the target on their back starting this season. Of course, losing Christy Tolliver may be the big talking point for moves made this season. But, of course, Odyssey Sims does come in, as well as in drafting Sydney Weiss, the record-breaking three-point shooter out of Oregon State. Shorty, starting off with you, we'll go around the block here. But, Shorty, what do you think about LA and their 2017 title defense season? What do you think and see forthcoming?
I think it's going to be interesting, even though right now for preseason, a lot of the well-known names on the team are not back yet. But, hopefully once they get back, they'll get everything on track just for the season overall. I hope, that this will be another, dominant season for them, advancing in the playoffs and hopefully reaching the finals once again. I know it's going to have a little different look when it comes to the guard position. We'll ultimately see whether Gray or Sims will get the start. And then a lot of the bench, we know that this year we'll be starting a Eurobasket tournament. So a lot of our players are going to be overseas for the time being into the WNBA season. So just overall, it'll be an interesting season for the Sparks as they go on a title defense. But, I hope everything works out for them overall.
Guys, I think about this and thought about it since the end of the season again, how can a team possibly replace Christy Tolliver? And I think I talked this over with Anila and Angel, and as well with our draft show was, here LA, lets Tolliver Walker draft a carbon copy almost, in regards to Sydney Weiss out of Oregon State again, in regards to her three-point shooting, perhaps a bit of a minor upgrade on defense as well. Crystal, in regards to LA, what do you see happening for them at this early stage of the offseason and now in training camp?
Well, one, can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Well, one, I don't know if we necessarily let her walk. I think, there's some kind of stuff going on with that one. I don't think we would just let a person of Tolliver's caliber just walk, especially just like willingly. I think there was more to that. And two, I mean, it's going to be interesting. It is hard to replace a shooter like that. It's I'm sure it's gonna miss Lil Mopey, but you definitely. I mean, people do things what's best for their career. And she thought it was best for her career, and I still respect that. I respect that, especially her. About to be in her prime. She's getting older. She probably wants to do things a little differently. And I'm with that. I can respect that. And for two, I mean, it's just hopefully we can have a person like Sydney Weiss come in and or better yet, Gray or Williams come in and help replace that void. I mean, it's just going to be so hard to replace a shooter of her caliber, though. It's definitely not going to be easy, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I think Brian has some kind of plan.
And Todd Mintz agrees, guys. He says the 0-2 start in the preseason is laughable because half the roster is not here at this juncture in time. Moving, guys, from the Sparks to the Kelsey Plum era, starting in San Antonio this summer. Of course, guys, Kelsey Plum drafted number 1 out of Washington by way of La Jolla Country Day High School here in San Diego, along as well with their new head coach and Vicki Johnson. Crystal, starting with you, obviously, growing pains for the Stars, of course, with a very young team still looking to find their identity. But, of course, a new era, new chapter in franchise history begins this season. Crystal, where do you believe, or what is your overall thoughts about the Stars starting off this season and why?
I think, they're a young team. I think we have to wait and see and give them time to see what they can really do. I think Kelsey Plum will help them. I mean, obviously, I think they're probably going to struggle a little bit in the beginning of the season because it's a new system, new coach. New teammates, everything's new in place. But I think we got to let them actually play and actually let them, get their. I like to say let their season get seasoned a little bit, which pretty much means let them play a few games and see how everybody works out and how they work well with each other. But I mean, ultimately they're young. I'm not expecting too much from them, but I mean, I think they'll be okay. I mean, I'm not expecting them to be just plain awful.
Shorty, what do you think about San Antonio?
I think they're going to be an exciting team to watch just because, one name, Kelsey Plum. I mean, she was the NCAA's, leading scorer, so she's definitely going to catch a lot of eyes this season. But other than that, of course, people who know the WNBA isn't going to really expect much from San Antonio in terms of, playoffs, implications. But overall, I think they'll be a fun young team to watch. You got Plum, Jefferson, McBride, those three. So they're definitely going to be, and we'll have.
So moving, guys, now from the Stars to the remodeled and rebuilt Washington Mystics. Of course, guys, they make their splash move over the offseason, trading for Elena Deladon in a 3-way deal, also getting Christy Tolliver as well via free agency. Sure. And then we'll kind of go from there in regards to anything else. Shorty, starting off with you, what do you see about this Washington team? Obviously, looks good on paper, but as we all know, the old antidote, championships are not won on paper. What do you think? All right, Shorty, maybe having a minor technical difficulty right now. Again, folks, we're still I'm buying as well. Crystal, we'll go to you now on this one in regards to Washington again. The old antidote again of championships not being won on paper, but at least right now for Washington, things look pretty nice for the time.
Can you hear me? It's like in kind of.
You're fine.
Okay, no, because it keeps cutting in and out. My bad. I heard you said. On paper they look good, yeah, but for right now it's just paper. I mean, they'll be very great offensively, but defensively, I think they're gonna have a few problems stopping teams. I mean, it's especially down the stretch when playoffs and after the All-Star break and down the long road. I think eventually that defense is gonna be their Achilles heel, and I mean they're, like I said, right now they look good, but we really won't know until they play, a few games to see exactly what their game plan is. But I do think they're going to struggle a little bit defensively because that team is not made up of, any defensive stoppers like that, with the exception of like 2 or 3 of them. So I think right now we just have to give them time and wait and see.
Shorty, what do you think? I've talked about this while we were away, but again, having time to chat things over in regards to the league. Washington offensive, juggernaut. But if you can't play defense, you're not going to win a whole lot of games, Shorty. What do you believe about Washington, at least right now at this juncture in training camp, with how they're set up for success, as of right now at least?
I mean, I think, they're set up pretty good. They got a bunch of shooters, that can space the floor, to allow EDD and, the others do work in the post or the perimeter, wherever they may be. But just overall, as Crystal said, they're going to be a good offensive team. Defensively, they will struggle because they really don't have a real true rim protector on the team. Just in my estimation, I think this is going to be the team that leads the league in 3-point percentage, but defensively, they will struggle.
Guys, thinking about Washington and just with Deladon and Tolliver, quite some time, the Mystics have either their first or maybe even their first and second franchise superstars in franchise history. Maybe a far-fetched idea, but I think though that as we have saying in offensive efficiency and stuff, but I mean if you can't play defense, that's half the battle, and you're really not going to be set up for a whole lot of success. Todd does chime in, guys, and we'll get ourselves a question for everyone here. He says, question being is Washington going to be the Chicago of last 2 years and have to win with scores in the high 90s or 90s in that matter to win? So again, Shorty, question being, or could they be another team that will have to win games that are scored in the 90s? Success in your mind, what do you think?
Sorry, it kept spacing out, but was the question, will Washington have to score in the high 90s to beat teams?
Yeah, again, Todd's question again is Washington going to be the Chicago of the last 2 years with scores in the 90s to have a chance to win a game?
Maybe and maybe not. I think they will be looking to score, high. I don't think it won't have to be in the 90s range, or up all the time, but they will definitely look to be a high-scoring team. Though I will say they won't have the defense that Chicago had. I mean, because even though Chicago was up and down, still they were, a good defensive team. Chicago, I don't even think defensively they'll be that good as Chicago. So we'll wait and see.
Crystal, what do you think? Do you believe that the Mystics will have to, have all their games finish in the 90s for them to have a chance to win a game? To just knowing about what we talked about again, about how their defensive ability may be very subpar right now at this point.
I don't think they're gonna have to have all their games in the 90s, but like Shorty said, they're gonna be a team that's gonna try to score on you, and they're gonna try to score on you a lot. I mean, I think for them, I think when it comes to close games, because they're going to get in close games, they're going to be matched pretty evenly well. So at some point through the season, I think when it comes to close games, that's where they're going to struggle the most, because when it comes to close games, defense is one of the main things that keeps you in it. But I think it's going to be 50-50. I think some games is going to be like they blow you out, and then some games are going to you're going to look like, oh, okay, that was a close one.
Guys, Michelle Smith has just one question for you about this next team, and we'll start with Crystal. Crystal, is the hourglass running out on the Minnesota Lynx?
As far as what is like, you mean as far as like competitiveness, or you mean like age? Like, because if she's talking about competitiveness, I don't think so. I mean, I think they're still going to be a pretty competitive team. Any team with Maya Moore on there is going to, they're bound to do something well. As far as age goes, I think so. I mean, I think they're starting to become that team that's pretty old. But as far as competitive, no. I mean, will they get back to where they were last year? Maybe. Who knows? I mean, it's way too early to tell that right now. But we'll have to see.
Shorty, what do you think about Michelle's question again? Is time running out for Minnesota in your mind?
I think overall they might have at least 1 to 2 years left with this current roster. And I'm pretty sure she's targeting, are there a championship window still open, and do they have anything left in the tank as far as championships goes? Like I said, I think their championship window 1 to 2 years. After that, I'm not sure. Everything is up in the air.
No, I still think Minnesota is that team that everyone talks about. That regardless of what last championship window for Minnesota is open for still even 4 years, depending on if they really can start getting younger. I know that they are still with Waylon and Moan and all them, and I know that they're going to grind it out regardless of their age factor and also their health. But I still though think that health for Minnesota, specifically Waylon and Simone Augustus and even Maya Moore as well, will be a pretty big talking point. Healthy that they will not go far, but there still is plenty of time, I think, for Minnesota to still capture that championship at this point. Todd also says, as long as Lynette Pearson, who came over, guys, via free agency, can stay healthy, her experience will help. Defense and ability to score will also help them as well. Then, guys, we move to another team with a new head coach as well in place and a couple new faces. That is the Indiana Fever. Pokey Chapman now in. Tamika Catchings retired out. Candice Dupree also in via trade. Shorty, we'll start with you on this one in regards to the Fever. What do you think, again? Now, this is first year post Tamika Catchings' era ending last season. Stephanie White left for Vanderbilt. Shorty, what do you see about Indiana perhaps this season?
I think they're going to be, a young and refreshed team. We know they're post Tamika Catchings, and Brianne January is going to be looking to lead the charge. New group and led by Pokey Chapman, who, I think is a very good coach overall. I mean, you saw what she did, at least for Chicago's tenure. I mean, at least they got to the finals, during her run. So I can see her looking to put in Indiana in that same position, with this new roster.
Crystal, what do you think about Indiana again? Starting off the new post-Catchings era, Chapman as head coach. Again, some new bodies and new faces in there for the Fever. Very long-going postseason streak going for them. Again, I want to say it's about 10 or 12 years going strong. What do you see about the Fever perhaps this season at this early juncture of training camp?
I think they'll be fun. I mean, new faces, new coach. I think Pokey Chapman is gonna move that team in the right direction. Like Shorty said, I mean, they made it to the finals one year and made it to the playoffs next year, even though their team was kind of, you looked at the roster and thought, it was probably pretty shaky. But I think Pokey's gonna have them in the right direction. She's a really good coach. She really knows how to put players in the right position and put her team in the best position to win.
Guys, Indiana is always a team I love watching. I love the way that team plays basketball, team-oriented basketball. And this year, it's going to be a little bit tough, I think, to watch that first game, knowing that Catch won't be out there on the floor grinding away like she always does. But again, I think, guys, with any team, any sport, whenever there's a new head coach, you get some new pieces in there, there's always, optimism. But I think with the Fever riding that really long, great postseason streak right now, I think that they're going to still be in the thick of things. Just a matter of, what will they do this season in regards to, how will Pokey have you going forward. So Fever will be a good team to watch. Then, guys, next up is the Seattle Storm, coming off of their first playoff berth in a couple of years, and as well getting to see the second-year player this time, UConn, starting off her sophomore season, I should say. Crystal, you'll see Seattle in a couple of weeks on May 13th at Staples Center when the banner gets raised there at the big office. But in Seattle the past like 8 or 10 home openers, this gotten that franchise somewhat back on the map after those couple of rough potholes in the road, you'd somewhat say. What do you perhaps see about Seattle again? They got in the postseason mix this year. Can they carry that momentum into 2017? What do you think and why?
I think Seattle is going to actually be a pretty decent team. They're looking pretty good, and I know it's only preseason. They have a player, I believe her name is Whitcomb. She's looking pretty good, especially if she makes that roster. I think that she can be a big help for them. I think they'll be okay. I don't, like I said, it's too early to tell if anything's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if they actually were to make the playoffs.
Crystal, I want to stay with you real quick because Todd has a great, excellent question that he wants to get our take on for the Fever real quick. Who do you believe replaces Tamika Catchings in the starting five?
You really can't replace Tamika Catchings. I mean, that's a legend. I think in order for them to, it's gonna be a long time before you could just say, oh yeah, like this is the person that's gonna replace Catchings.
Yeah, tough question, Shorty, but I like the idea. I like where Todd's going. But who do you think could perhaps replace TC in that starting five for Indy this season?
You know what? I'm not even sure. I mean, Pokey's really going to have to evaluate, that because it's not easy replacing. She'll evaluate camp and he's the right fit, to take on.
Yeah, Todd, I love the question, though, man. But at this point, with so much going on, a little bit rough to speculate. Todd does say, though, he says, and he feels that Carolyn Swords will be a better fit in Seattle than New York. They need height and rebounding and a low post threat in Seattle this season. Next up, guys, is what looks to be the Eastern Conference favorites for the third straight year to win the conference title, presumably. The New York Liberty, of course, guys who somewhat of a mixture of old talent and, of veteran leadership and young talent going forward. Of course, a couple of good draft picks for the Libs, but again, another early flame out in the off of Tina Charles. And what we have seen, guys, the past couple of years is the Liberty will only go as far as TC can carry them. Shorty, back over to you. What do you see about the Liberty, at least right now at this point in training camp?
Well, hopefully Charles gets the help that she needs, because last year she was just doing it all, doing everything. And then about time the end of the season came, what's Crystal's favorite word? Burnout. And that's pretty much what happened, compiled with, the Olympic Games as well. But she just flamed out. So hopefully we get more Sugar Rogers. Wright will be out. Tanisha Wright will be out for the season, sadly. But it's good that, they have Hartley now and Kia Vaughn as well to, add some rim protection for the Libs, because TC can't do it all on her own. I mean, going to need more help.
Yeah, Crystal, that's the biggest talking point, like I've said, is the Liberty will only go as far as Tina Charles can carry them on her team on her back. And again, we saw, last year, of course, being a grind, of course, regular season, Olympics, then the playoff game, of course, with hosting Phoenix. Crystal, I kind of think, I'm going to get into this topic a little bit later on, guys, but I just feel like, though, that the Liberty have become the WNBA's version of the Buffalo Bills, who went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost all 4, in regards to how the Liberty have gotten in the postseason but can never get the job finished. Crystal, in your mind, though, can New York perhaps turn that tide this year in 2017, or what do you think?
I mean, they possibly can. I mean, anything could happen. I mean, it seems like they're trying to get a really good core around Tina Charles now. Hopefully, for their sake, there is no burnout in Tina Charles this year. But like I said, it's still early. We never know. But I mean, who knows?
So with that, guys, now to a team with a wide array of problems, and they're located off of I-8 east from San Diego in Phoenix, Arizona, guys. And the Mercury are going to be having presumably a season to probably forget already in 2017, guys. We haven't even started the season yet, but they are having a multitude of problems right now. Of course, guys, Delta Wade Candace Dupree, no Dewana Bonner due to pregnancy this year. And there's a lot of other question marks, as well as Sandy Brondell getting the job offer for the Australian national basketball team. A lot of discussion there. So, guys, just a lot of, a array of problems for the Mercury to deal with, and we have not even begun play season. In regards to the Mercury, Crystal, again, somewhat, at least the second year in a row that they have had to deal with some type of problems, either with Brittany Griner and her personal issues off the floor a couple of years ago, and now this year, of course, no Bonner, Delta Wade Dupree, Penny Taylor retired, along with a lot of what they hold long with. Crystal, can the Mercury, though, perhaps use that as whiteboard material and perhaps get off to, or perhaps do something good this year in regards to coming off? Don't forget last year, again, they struggled through the whole season, got hot, though, in the postseason, but ultimately fizzled out, though, against in the league semifinals. What do you think, though?
I think it's a possibility. I think their main problem is their team defense as a whole. I think if they can handle that, then it'll be a little bit better for them. But I mean, I think they can. I mean, it is Phoenix. Phoenix is one of those teams that you can never really count out like that. I don't know if they'll start slow again, or if it'll be the opposite, where they start hot, then fizzle out. But I don't know. I mean, it's Phoenix, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they were a top team again.
Shorty, I mean, Crystal hit the nail on the head, though. I mean, with the Mercury, they're somewhat like, the wild card of a Joker in the deck of cards at the casino. But in regards to that, though, I still, something, though, with all these problems, again, no Bonner, Delta Wade Dupree, you don't know what Brittany Griner is going to show up on a night-to-night basis. DT can't always carry the load every single night for PHX. And just it's a snowball effect right now, from one thing to another extreme going forward. But again, Shorty, like Crystal said, though, this is a team, though, that you can never count out, though. And as we saw, though, last season, again, somewhat, kind of, sleptwalk through the regular season, got hot in the postseason at the right time, but again, fell short, though, of their fourth title in franchise history. But again, Shorty, where do you kind of start, though, is where I would probably ask, though, with this problem, or not the problems, but I just, some of the, changing of faces, I guess, with the Mercury this season.
Again, as you brought up, so many changes. Also, let's not forget their X factor. Penny Taylor is tired and still with the organization, but of course not on the floor. So you have a lot of these changes happen, but you can't never count out DT. As long as you have DT and Griner, hopefully with her, if there's no off the court stuff going on with her, then those two together should be solid for the season. But overall, I don't from Phoenix. If they do make the playoffs, maybe another eighth seed again. But if not, I could ultimately see them in the lottery.
I still think that Phoenix is going to be in the mix. I mean, it may not be like a Mercury Mystics thing, lose in the last game to get into the last spot. I think they're going to be in there somewhere. It may be, kind of knockout, drag out like it was game. But I think this year, guys, more importantly, that the Mercury need to get off to a much better start than this. How, from game they can get the final buzzer or what have you. But I think, though, as we already brought up, guys, their defense will have to improve drastically for them to have any type of fighting shot, I think, to remain competitive this season. Moving, guys, to another team with another Atlanta Dream, guys, as mentioned, or we already know about, again, no Angel McCoughtry this season, looking to take time off as well for the season to rest her body. So that leaves the Dream without their big marquee attraction. Crystal, what do you think about ATL, at least in their immediate future, again, with no Angel McCoughtry for at least what we've been told, at least the first half, maybe even the full year so far?
I think Tiffany Hayes is going to have a sore back at the end of the season. I feel like she's going to have to carry a lot of Orlando's load. I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, I would like to say I hope they would be okay, but I mean, I know Angel was a big part of their season, but Tiffany Hayes did come up big for them in a lot of games last year. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell with Atlanta. They're always a team that's kind of so-so. So I mean, maybe they'll do well, maybe they won't.
Shorty, the game I went to against ATL last summer, I had a joy just watching Tiffany Hayes go out there and just grind and grind and grind and lay it all out there for those 40 minutes she played that Thursday afternoon, and just a player like that, can certainly makes me appreciate that style of play. But again, Shorty, knowing there's no McCautry this season for ATL, that of course could be perhaps a death sentence. But again, there are other pieces in place between Lasia Clarendon along with Tip Hayes. Shorty, at this juncture, what are your thoughts about ATL in your mind?
They're going to be an interesting case. Also, Elizabeth Williams, played pretty solid for them, last season. They're going to have to collectively just pull everything together. She's such an incredible player. I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up being the most improved player this season. Just improving in all of her stats overall, because she will have to be the leading scorer of the team. But overall, they're just going to have to gain wins collectively, because they will be without McCautry. So it's going to have to be a total team effort, from this team. I'm not sure what they're going to do as far as, playoffs and things like that. This is a team that hasn't missed the playoffs, since their inception, and getting McCautry as the number one pick in 2009. So definitely be interesting to see.
Also, guys, two names we forgot to bring up for Kayla George back from the Australian. Speedy Gonzalez herself, Danielle Robinson, also going to be making an impact with the Mercury this season. Todd says, love watching Clarendon and Hayes, but don't see a lot of offseason improvements, and Angel being gone does not help either. He projects or sees ATL presumably in last place in the league. Perhaps we'll see what, of course, happens once the games do get underway. With that, guys, now to the Chicago Sky, of course, beginning their first season post-Deladon and post-Chapman, of course, Amber Stocks, former LA Sparks assistant, who, guys, I believe was the 7th rated interviewee on the Sky's wish list for coaches. And she, of course, will somewhat have her hands full going into a new market, and also her first season at the helm as GM and head coach for the Sky. Crystal, I know we talked a lot about Sylvia Fowles sitting out the first time, and this is somewhat of a very a rough 1-2 punch to the gut of Chicago fans, seeing both Fowles leave via a holdout, and then seeing Deladon wish to be dealt over the offseason after having the broken hand or broken finger during the playoffs last season. Crystal, in your mind, how do you think, or how block out last season, or even previous moves perhaps made, and try to get their first-year head coach something, get her off to a good start and everything else included? What do you think?
I think you said, how do they block out that from happening? Is that what you said?
Or just block it out mentally, because I know that perhaps that would weigh heavy on some people seeing their superstar get dealt.
I don't know if you can really block something out like that mentally, but I think it does say a lot about Chicago's organization as far as the people who work in the offices and who are manning the organization. You lose, 2 top players like that in the course of 2-3 years. So that lets you know that it's something deep within the organization. Not necessarily, saying anything it's like the players or anything. I'm just saying, I think that front office needs a little bit of work.
In shorty, of course, we try our best to somewhat, leave front office matters out of our hands, of course. We're more so just reporting on what we've heard and gathered from reliable sources out there. Shorty, you see this happen, though, twice in the matter of a couple seasons. Again, you see Sylvia Fowles get dealt, pretty much demanding out of Chicago. And I think that in a way, though, guys, that EDD somewhat did that as well. You can kind of say, probably say that as well during the this year's offseason. Shorty, in your mind, where does the blame fall, I guess, for a franchise to let 2 superstar players go in such a short span of time?
I mean, for both of those situations, it was just pretty much out of their hands. And it's like that with any superstar in the WNBA. Once that player has made their minds that they want to go to, a new city, well, then
the organization has, no choice but to comply. So, those things happen, and it will just be ultimately up to Chicago to just build and move on from, these situations. But overall, I would just like to give a shout out to Eric, and I'll just get this out of the way that Crystal probably still owe him 50 cents, but y'all never helped me. So, so that's a reoccurring thing that just never gets dealt with. But yeah, overall, those situations were out of Chicago's hands.
We may have been off the air, plenty of ragtime fun here on the network, even though we do have even though we have a reduced panel now for the time being. Moving on, guys, now to the Connecticut Sun, of course, and last year, guys, was somewhat of a learning curve for first-year head coach Kurt Miller. But I think, though, that the Sun still will have some growing pains, guys, but they are going to be up there very, very probably. I mean, I'm sure that they're still going to be a long shot for the postseason. Shorty, starting with you with CT, what do you perhaps see? Of course, Noshine Agumike again dealing with rehabbing that injured knee from last season. Shorty, what do you think, though, in regards to Kurt Miller in his second season? Where do you think the Sun perhaps fit right now during this part of training camp?
Overall, I mean, they're trying to get their pieces healthy and back together again. And that was just the ultimate thing for Connecticut. It wasn't that they were a bad team or a bad roster, it's just injuries. A lot of their players just left and right, nonstop. So if this remains a healthy season for Connecticut, I think they will be in line to make a playoff appearance.
Crystal, I know we've talked about health specifically with Minnesota, with Deladon in Washington. Crystal, would you perhaps say that health is a major component for Connecticut making the postseason this year? Is health in this year?
I can see them. Excuse me. I can see them making a playoff appearance. I mean, I think if Alyssa Thomas can play how everyone expects her to play, and if her and Alex Billy could get something going, as well as with the addition of Danielle Adams, if she keeps playing the way she played, today in preseason, I think they could possibly make a run for the playoffs. I mean, they almost did it last year. It was just a little bit too late. But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would hope to see them in the playoffs. It'd be something new, something fresh.
Todd agrees with you, KT. He says Dee Adams had glowing reviews from her first game yesterday. He has them in the postseason mix. So, hey, Connecticut, we're rooting for you. Let's do it here. Of course, you're 15 season 2 in the league, so glad that you guys have been around for 15 years. And let's see you guys in the postseason. We know you guys are grinding out there, but keep doing it. Last for the night, guys, at least for team-wise, is the Dallas Wings, somewhat remodeling in Smith. We've got to remember that, guys. She does have her name hyphenated now on her uniform, but of course to break up the Diggins, Smith, and Sims backcourt last season. But still, though, guys, probably still not on a lot of people's radars for the postseason mix. Crystal, going to you. What do you think about the Wings so far? Year number 2 in Dallas, and presumably, what do you think seeing in the future for this organization, or at least the team for this year?
Dallas is going to be interesting. I think they're still going to struggle a little bit. I mean, like I said, it's still too early. We really don't know what's going to happen, but I think we'll know, what's to deal with them when the season starts, but they're probably going to have to make some bigger changes. But like I said, it's still too early. I'm just not expecting a lot from them. I'm expecting more from San Antonio than them. So I don't know. We'll just have to kind of see how it goes.
So again, Shorty, so this is now year 2 in Dallas for the Wings, and once more, Skylar Diggins Smith, with her new last name, of course, will be back in uniform, hopefully. But Shorty, I would probably say, though, too, that for Skylar, that health is going to be a big factor, I think, too, for this Dallas team. Somewhat more, not really Minnesota old, but still some, somewhat old veterans and some young kids as well with their draftees as well this season as well. Shorty, what are you perhaps seeing for the Wings in year 2 at this early juncture?
I definitely think they're going to be a fun team to watch. Raw, actually, besides one of the teams that I'm definitely more interested in watching this season, just because she's of
South Carolina, Alicia Gray, Kayla Davis. So they'll be interesting to watch, along with now second-year player Ariel Powers as well, and of course getting the healthy Skylar Diggins back. She has just been dealt with a lot of injuries, so hopefully, and is ready to go. As what they might do throughout the season, I mean, it's going on with them in that organization. So hopefully everything is cleared up, and I'm not sure about the playoffs, but they'll definitely be fun to watch.
Guys, real quick, we have two questions. First from Todd. He wants to know real quick if you guys have heard anything in regards to how those Dallas rookies have played. Anybody? Go ahead. Shorty, we'll start with you.
Repeat the question again.
Have you heard anything in regards to how the Dallas rookies have played so far this preseason?
For me, not really, because sadly I haven't been following up on everyone's preseason, in that regard. But it's a game or two, so hopefully they're in camp, learning the new plays and things like that, and getting prepared for the season.
Also, guys, one quick comment and question from presumably a new viewer. His name is Michael. Mike said he likes the show. He also wanted to ask, Shorty, going back to you, was it a mistake for the WNBA not to show any preseason games this week, or is it a mistake in general, perhaps, in action?
Well, I totally wouldn't say it was a mistake, because outside of their core fan base, there's not really interest, at least in the WNBA's preseason like that. So necessarily mean for the fans, us fans, we would like to see preseason and doing more than just about it or watching the game tracker. We want to see how the rookies are really playing on the floor in preseason. How they're familiar with the plays and things like that. If interest.
Crystal, what do you think? Again, Michael's asking, wasn't a mistake not show preseason games? What do you think?
I don't know if it was a mistake, but I would have liked to have seen a preseason game streamed. I mean, I thought it was weird how they had highlights from Kelsey Plum's first game, but they had no stream of it. I think a lot of people would like to see their teams in preseason, even though it is only preseason. I think a lot of people would like to see how, the young players look and how things are developing. So a mistake, I don't know, but it would have been cool to see.
So with that, guys, we've come to the end of our program. But first, guys, I want to, first of all, again, somewhat explain what has gone on here. Again, we've been somewhat off air the past couple months. Again, I've been dealing with a lot of stuff in regard, of course, if you folks don't know, been announcing minor league hockey and or soccer, college sports does not have have not have a time to come back on here. On we're accustomed to coming on here mostly every week, and we have time. Working out some technical problems here too. Still trying to figure out why the internet in here has been kind of slack in regards to all the problems we've had so far. So again, working on resolving all those, and again, we're trying our best to get back on more of a stable course for programming once the season does start. But still, hockey is still going on for me. So we'll see when we can get back to a more consistent basis of programming for you folks. Out though as well to you fine folks and viewers out there, ladies and gentlemen. Our draft day show, the first one we did of the two on draft day with myself, Pat, Anila, and Angel Gray, is up to almost 2,000 views since it aired. It's right now at 1,989. That is now officially the most watched show in the 3-year history of the network, and as well again express my gratitude to those three, and also shout to some WNBA stats and facts. We'll try and get Owen on here as much as we can, but of course he's dealing with school as well back in Winston-Salem, and of course the time change may not help. Shorty, at least again, because we took the time off. I took the time off at least, and it was a little depressing not being here every night and talking hoops and stuff, and of course going and doing hockey games and all that is fun and all. like to see the crowd come running back. You know, it's kind of like when the sequel out of so stay like, you know, once episode 8 for Star Wars comes out and everyone flocks to the theater to see it. That feeling kind of reminds me of what these numbers speak is, you know, we were kind of, you know, we were away for a bit, we come back and everyone comes running back to the theater to come watch the next big movie presentation. Here we are at 1990 for views, 1,990 for views on the draft day show. I mean, it's been shocking to me because Anila was keeping me updated during the time we were gone, or during the time I was taking, we were away, and she was like, you know, hey, 1,000 views already, 1,500. This is incredible. So, Shorty, what does that, I guess, kind of say though? Because I mean, we have been, you know, social media's been a firestorm since we went off there in regards to people following. We've been breaking stories and whatnot. So even Shorty, even when we are, you know, even when we're gone or we're away for a long time, that everyone still want more from the product. Sure, we had, guys, by the way, we also had about 30 new subscribers on the channel just on the draft day alone. We had so many great comments too in the chat box during the draft and on the video itself. So Shorty, you know, 4 months was, you know, 3 months was a long time to be gone, but we come back on for one day and we get almost 2,000. Is there like any words for you to say about, you know, how great, you know, our community is for women's basketball?
Yeah, I definitely think is very impressive, especially since before that show, you know, we was off for at least 1 or 2 months or so, or something of that nature. So to come back and then get those same type of views is definitely very impressive. But hopefully in the future we can continue to build and actually change the format.
You know, Crystal, I know that we have had technical problems on here. We've had a lot of things in 3 years, folks. This is officially our 3rd year on air. But then, Crystal, you know, we go away for a bit just so I can concentrate more on the jobs that pay me, so I can go and see these games and take these trips over the summer to LA and Phoenix or whatnot. And we go away for a bit, but we still, though, keep social media running for everybody. So we'll keep Facebook up and Twitter up as much as we can. But we come back for draft day coverage, and we have Anila, me, Angel Gray from ESPN and NBA TV, and then we have Owen Perkins on from WNBA Stats and Facts, and nearly 2,000 people. I didn't realize that there were 2,000 women's basketball fans on YouTube, and they came and watched. They subscribed. They have 1,000 followers on Twitter now. Crystal, I guess, you know, for being gone for so long, you know, when everyone comes back to the forefront, it's incredible. But I guess, KT, what do you think though about how the reception's been since we've come back? I mean, just this is our 2nd show or 3rd show in about a month or so, and man, oh man, numbers are going through the roof. Incredible. All right, Crystal, I think is on mute for a second. A couple of comments real quick, guys. 4 of us. Michael says, a great panel, great show. Thank you guys very much. Todd says, good show, good for Shorty. Hard to believe that it's been 6 to 7 months since LA won the title on a last-second shot. A lot of great stuff, folks. Again, I know that we have been limited, folks, in our time, but again, we will be limited for at least the next couple of weeks as still go on. But we will, though, folks, do our best to keep you posted on Facebook and Twitter. So please, if you have not followed our outlets yet, please do so on Facebook at facebook.com/WNBA365, or follow us over on Twitter. Follow any of us or follow the network, more importantly. Network handles at WNBA365, or find us on Twitter, again, at Calimac3, at ShortyMamba24, and 10. Again, folks, please, from this point forward for right now until this hockey season ends, connected to our social media platforms that we will break when we'll have time to come aboard. We will, folks, we will, though, at least have Marcus Anderson back with us once the Spurs play offense. He is doing work, though, too, for WOAI in San Antonio for their NBC play for the Spurs. But again, we will have him back at least, and we'll work on getting more and more guests on our programming as well. With that, folks, I'll be back here for the first show of training camp coverage, at least, for Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart, both up in Los Angeles. This is Cal McClurg signing off from the Calimac Sports Studios in San Diego. Folks, take care, and social media for our next show. Take care, folks, and good night. Bye-bye.